For a problem statement, there are few things that you need to understand. The first thing is that we don't have to say something is problem. It needs to be shown that it's a problem. Problem should emerge. We need to understand the intensity of the problem, that why something is a problem. And how we are going to do it, we need to support it with facts and evidences. We try to understand that why this problem is really concerning, why it requires my time, my money, my energy to be spent on it so that it can be solved, and ultimately for whom I am solving this problem. Now, when I say this one, this was the problem statement which I was talking about. I'll again make it zoom for you all so that you can see. And I want to go for a new problem statement. Try to read this. Know how much is the satisfaction going down. Now I know that the satisfaction levels are around 88%, which in general terms is a good number, but still it is important to understand because it means that every 1 in 10 customer is dissatisfied. And when we are contextualizing it with country like India, it becomes a big number. So when we are translating the entire thing, just imagine the customer base or the customer size that Amazon will be having in India, and imagine 1 in every 10 person is dissatisfied. Now it becomes a big number. Otherwise, if I say my satisfaction level or satisfaction achievement is 88% or 90%, it doesn't make any sense. Now, we say that we found that there have been surveys which identifies that there are delivery delays, there are product mismatches, complicated research processes are most common source of frustration. And we found that 60% of the Indian consumers are reporting that they would avoid online shopping during festive seasons due to all these issues which is made in bold above. And we also realize that cart abandonment is also a serious concern because 80% of the shoppers, they drop the orders. They add to the cart, but they don't complete the orders. And we realize that industry benchmark on time delivery rates in India hover around 70 to 75%, far below the reliability levels. And now, if you look into the new fast commerce kind of platforms, this problem statement is going to become even more stronger. It is becoming a more alarming point for Amazon.in. And from where I'm getting all this data? I'm getting this data from the Amazon's annual reports. Many times people ask me that can we use Amazon's name by using the data? Do we need permission? If you are taking any internal data, it makes sense. You have to take permission. It is always better to take permission. But if you are taking any data from a public domain, from the publicly available document, you can quote it anywhere. It is known as the fair use of it. Now, based on this one, I'm trying to conduct a customer satisfaction based study, and I'm going to justify that why I'm doing the study. So once I have understood the problem statement, once I have explained my problem in a proper way, what happens is that problem becomes clear. I develop a clarity that how I'm going to solve the problem. And then my entire paper, which I'm going to develop for a journal, gets a clarity. Now, if I have to see this particular paper, it can be published in any of the journals which is dealing with consumer behavior, which is dealing with online processes, online shopping, which is dealing with marketing, which is dealing with any sort of social media kind of platforms, or a journal which is having any sort of application or case-based studies. So I can decide my journals accordingly, that because what I'm trying to do is I have my things ready right at the beginning here. Strong kind of researches. For example, if I'm going to publish a paper in Journal of Applied Partial Least Square, Applied PLS, my statistical technique has to be stronger because that journal itself is on applied PLS. So I need to have all these things ready. And for example, if I want to publish a paper which is not having a high statistical package utilized, I can go for a journal which is accepting those kind of. So for example, my paper, many a time my Indian authors, they say that my paper was rejected and the comment was that your paper is based on India, it is very narrow, the generalizability is missing. And for them, I say that why you submitted your paper in a journal which has a very wide scope. Try to submit your paper in a journal which has very specific scope. Like, for example, Journal of South Asian Studies. There are so many journals. Journal of Human Resources for South Asian Studies, Journal of Business for South Asian Studies. So there are so many journals which are very specific for the South Asia. There are journals specifically on India. Indian Journal of Marketing is there, Indian Journal of Finance is there. So you have to see that what are the requirements and accordingly try to fit yourself there. So when we are going to craft a strong manuscript package, it is going to be revolving around these 5 points which is appearing on your screen. So as I said before, your abstract has to be compelling as possible. It needs to not only give you the contributions, it should also talk about the insights and the possible readers about it, that what are the possible implications of it. Then one of the strongest thing which editors look into, I myself being one of the associate editor for a Scopus Index journal, we look into introduction. No editor in the world has got time to go through the entire paper. Normally in a good journal, usually 2 to 3 papers are submitted every day. And the editor-in-chief, he doesn't have time to go through the entire paper because for that purpose, reviewers are there. But he still scrolls through, he goes through your paper and he tries to look into the areas that how was the structure, whether your abstract was fine or not. He reads the introduction and then he just glances through your methodology and findings, etc. Once it appears to him that paper is looking good, he passes it to the review process. We'll discuss about the review process also today. Then the next thing is that whether you are able to take forward the discussions properly or not. Many of the papers that we see today, it doesn't have discussion because when we are talking about the researches in our schools and colleges, what happens is that we talk about introduction chapter, literature review chapter, data analysis, methodology, find recommendations and conclusions, 5 chapters. And we immediately after findings, we jump into conclusions and recommendations. There is no discussion. Discussion section is important because discussion section helps you to convey that what were the gaps that you have filled. So what were the findings established? What was the theoretical foundation in the literature review? And how, through your findings, certain gaps has been addressed. What was the novelty value of your research? How you have contributed new things to your paper? And then many people, what they don't understand is that when we are writing a research paper, we have to see that we use the latest references, updated references. It doesn't mean that you don't use the old references. As long as the old references are good, it is still making sense. Try to use it, but try to keep your paper as updated as possible. And if you can find out some references from that journal which you are targeting itself, it is an icing on the cake. So once you have done this one, you have written your paper, and then the next thing is that you are moving towards writing a well-written cover letter, which is going to address a good fit for the journal where you are justifying to the editor-in-chief. So cover letter is the letter which you write to the editor-in-chief, telling him that why your paper is a good fit for his journal. And it is the first document that editor-in-chief he usually reads. And final checks, this is very important. Before you are going for submitting your paper, please take care of journal's formatting requirement. Please understand, do not leave anything for later that let me upload the paper. If the journal says that put your paper in this template, please put your paper in that template. There is no shortcut to it. Many a time your paper, even though if it is strongly written, it will get rejected because you have not followed the author's guidelines. So try to see that your paper is properly formatted. There is no shortcut and you have written it exactly as per the requirement of the journal. Second thing is that if you are using any figures, try to see that you have the highest possible resolution of that figure available with you. Same thing applies to the tables. And you also compare to the style and requirement of the journal. And these days, most of the publishing houses, they are becoming very careful about this similarity index, which we call as plagiarism, and the AI level usage. So if you have used AI, try to acknowledge it. If your AI level is coming high, why it is coming high, that justification you need to have. Many times what happens is that people who have good language, good command over language, AI often detects it that it is probably written by the AI, it is generated by AI. So in that case, you have to inform the editor well in advance that I am a native speaker or I am a trained language instructor or something. I have a very good command over language because of which this AI is coming high. But he needs to be assured that there's no AI used in your paper. Many good publication houses, they are asking you to submit a declaration for AI usage as well, which you can make use of. Then when you are submitting a paper, before submitting a paper, what you can do is that you can go for a pre-submission review. I often do that one. And I also do this pre-submission review for my colleagues also, that before submitting a paper, we just send our paper to one of the colleagues whom we trust, that please read my paper and tell me whether there are anything which I can improve. Just yesterday, we have submitted one paper to again one of the Q1 journals. And before submitting to that journal, we did our multiple reviews at our own level. So instead of the editor-in-chief and the reviewers giving us comment, we tried to improve the best version. We tried to improve and we submitted the best version of paper that we could have done. So now the paper which is going for the publication process, it is our best version. So there are chances that the desk rejection will be down because we have worked hard at this level itself. So the probability of desk rejection or the peer review rejections are going to get down at least at our own level. So we need to ensure that we are giving our best show. Then the next issue is that your paper, let's say it fulfills all the requirements and it goes for review process. So what is the review process? Let's have can be destructive feedback. I'm not going to this detail, but it is important from us that how we handle the criticism. And it is important because it is really discouraging, disheartening if your paper gets rejected or your paper is very critically evaluated and there are a lot of negative comments. So try to take a pause, try to take a reflect, don't rush, try to seek clarification. If you have not received any clarification or if the feedback is not clear, try to ask the editor-in-chief to be more clear about that particular thing which was not very clear to you. Try to separate the work from yourself, try to improve the work, don't take it personally, and try to appreciate the value that somebody took out time to read your paper and give you comments. And this is something which is important for all of us. So there can be issues, there can be issues. There can be vague and inconsistent feedback. It is always your right to ask for the clarity. There can be biasness in feedback. Maybe the reviewer or the editor doesn't relate to what you are trying to say because maybe your paper is going against with the reviewer's personal preferences or prejudices. It's fine. But we have to understand that normally there are at least 2 to 3 reviewers reviewing your paper. And therefore, the chances are that there might be conflicting reviews. So you have to see, you have to address that review, which is positive, and you try to understand both the reviews properly. Time management is very important because if you delay the review, if you delay the revision from your own side, it is going to be a problem. So review process takes time. It normally takes 1 to 2 months of review time. And then if you also take as an author 1 or 2 months in responding to those reviews, it is going to consume more amount of time again. And once you have submitted your revision, it again goes to the reviewer for the re-review. So we have to have one thing. Let's try to make the task of reviewers easy. So whenever we are making any response to the reviewers, we try to make the response sheet like this at the beginning of the paper. Try to post it at the top of your paper when you are resubmitting, where you have comments from the reviewer 1 and reviewer 2, reviewer 3, and you try to address to the reviewer. You can see one sample appearing on the screen. So there is a reviewer comment and there is author's action or response. So many times what happens is that you have no action available. So there is no action done. So you can respond that it was not clear or something which has been already justified and you are clarifying to the reviewer. So when you are going for a very successful review experience, try to be very clear, try to maintain positive attitude, try to know your audience because your reviewers, when they are giving you comments, they always keep the readers in their mind. And if the ultimate objective is there to make your paper more and more readers friendly. you are going to have a successful publication in any good journal. So journal expectations, which is derived from the people who are reading the journal's paper. And most of these readers actually work as the journal's reviewer. Many of the authors of the journal also work as journal's reviewer. So if you have done all these things, your chances of publishing in a high index journal is very high. So with these words, thank you so much. It was really great talking to you all. I believe I have not exceeded a time limit that Professor Nripen gave me.